And now, get ready for some sports talk with Denny Mclain.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday. You got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will rock you.
And here's your host, Denny Mclain.
Hi, I'm Denny Mclain. Good morning.
And I'm Ron Cameron. Good morning, and welcome to Sports Talk.
Boy, for a minute I thought we were going to have to put options up there. Ron Cameron, Eli Zarrett. Which one were you going to be today?
Oh, you know who I. You started with me.
Well, listen here, folks. First of all, the Tigers are on their way to the World Series. I guess that's not a secret. Alex Rodriguez is not. He's looking for other things in the stands.
He found one in the stands, too.
Well, two of them he found. Scherzer and Verlander. Somebody was trying to start an argument on the air the other day. Who was the #1 pitcher here in town? Please, get over it. And then we got Leland has been welcomed back by the great Dombrowski. The Dombrowski that probably had very little to put in his team together this year once Illich stepped in and started signing guys, Fielder included. And then the Lions are making moves and not making moves. The Pistons are playing a little bit of basketball, dribbling the ball from here, there, and of course the Red Wings, we're waiting for an announcement on the Red Wings.
It doesn't look good right now.
But first, folks, Delman Young. Let me just start off Delman Young by saying this. I'm not sure how many people there were in this town besides myself, and I'm saying this as honestly as I can, that said, let Delman Young play baseball. I think he's a good hitter. He's proven he's a good hitter. He's always been a good hitter. But the bottom line is every guy on radio and television, they wanted him out of here.
Me
Everybody,
included.
I know, especially you. Yeah. They started more rumors and more stories, and I think there were certain guys in this town trying to force him out of town. And that didn't work. And thank God it didn't.
Denny, they put him on the block in midseason. They wanted to get rid of him. They only gave him a one-year contract, even though he did a good job for him the year before. One-year contract. They wanted him gone. I talked to scouts. Nobody wanted to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
But why didn't they want to touch him?
Because they feel he's a bad apple.
Okay.
That apple went right for the tree like Dimitri.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you bring up a bad apple because right now he's out on bond. For anti-Semitic remarks in New York.
Now you're talking about the young here, not
Delman
Dimitri.
Young. He's out on bond right now, out of New York, of course, and he's going to go to trial. Actually, they're trying to settle the case, and it's only a misdemeanor in New York. But what he did, if it's true, I mean, it's really nasty. Anti-Semitism. I mean, it's just awful. And but here's a guy that hit 267 for you, hit 18 home runs, knocked in 75 guys. And I'm telling you, this guy is going to become the DH on this ball club next year.
Absolutely
I don't see how they get rid of him.
Absolutely not.
But let me finish with my.
Absolutely not.
Let me finish with with his bond that he has over there.
Okay.
The only thing I hope for Delman is simple. God forbid that Judge is a Yankee fan, because 4 times in this playoff, Delman knocked in the winning run. And I'm telling you, if I'm a Yankee fan and I'm the judge, you're going to do the time, man.
There goes your balls, Teddy. There goes your
There they go again.
Now, listen, they wanted him. I talked to scouts. This guy was a #1 player chosen in the draft.
Yep.
5-tool player, and he said he's developed. Now he's a half-a-tool player. They said he can.
How can you say that?
In midseason, he should have driven in 70 runs. He had 30-some in midseason. It was terrible for them. He did start hitting in August. He didn't do anything till then. Nothing.
Wait a second. Besides Fielder and Cabrera, who had a monster year here?
Austin Jackson.
I'll give you Austin Jackson. Nobody else.
I thought when
some guys had some timely hits. Look at the lineups. Look at the batting averages. I disagree that all of a sudden they've got the greatest team in America. No, what they've got is a pitching staff that has come together, and they're doing a hell of a job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the other day somebody suggested, I'm in the middle of a radio interview with one of the stations in town, and the host of the show suggests that Scherzer's a better pitcher or should be considered the #1 pitcher on the ball club. Guys, there's certain classes that we all know. There were a bunch of horses over here, then there was a secretariat. Verlander is the secretariat of the American League probably right now. I can't think of a second guy that's even close.
No, he's the best.
When he's got his good stuff, he is absolutely miles away from anybody else.
However, he didn't have good stuff in the All-Star
Yeah,
game.
yeah, that's
As
a
a
good
result,
point.
that's going to cost. They might cost him the
See,
championship.
this is the thing that bothers me about the All-Star game. When he gets his brains beat out, and I again mean it, that he rededicated himself after that appearance because he was embarrassed. I don't care what he says. He says, what does it matter? Or I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he certainly didn't. He acted like it didn't matter that he got his brains beat out and that the American League would not be the home team to start the World Series. Listen, that fourth game in a World Series means a lot. I know in '68 we did it in the seventh game, but we were in St. Louis. We got lucky. We had Mickey Lolich pitching the greatest in his life that he's ever pitched. But the bottom line is playing in your own park, and especially our team. Our team wins in their home park. Our team is a monster in their home
Agreed.
park. And they should just, Justin, I just want to see him do well. I'd like to see him beat him. I assume we're going to play the Cardinals. I don't think there's any question at this point in time. And I'd like to see Justin go out there. And if he can, I'd love to see him pitch 3 times. Of course, that's not going to happen. And I'll give you my prediction. I think they win it in 5 games maximum.
All right, your prediction is 5. I say maximum?
Maximum.
Maximum? Okay,
Maximum.
I will give you the Cardinals in 7.
You think the Cardinals are going to win?
I like the pitching
that?
Let me tell you how I can say that, because I think they manufacture runs. They're solid defensively, unlike the Yankees in both categories. And I think their pitching staff is better than the Yankees. They didn't hit as many home runs, but they have 5 guys with 20 or more home runs. He can run, they can hit the ball out of the ballpark, they field, and they're fundamentally sound, unlike the Yankees.
Have you ever pulled for a Detroit team?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You had when it was,
I want to see the Tigers win. I want to be wrong. Prove me wrong.
We'll prove it.
All right.
I mean, you're right about one thing. Fundamentally, they are a much better team when it comes to picking up ground balls, making good plays.
And manufacturing runs means a lot.
Well, here's one of your
Series.
problems, and we'll get to this in the next segment. We're going to be playing by National League rules. If we go 7, we're playing 4 games by National League rules. That means our pitchers who haven't hit all year will hit. That's not a good thing. Our hitters will have to bunt. Our pitchers will have to bunt. Our pitchers will have to try to stay out of the way of the baseball. But the bottom line is, if you got to use a pitcher to hit, it really equalizes the game. Because
Verlander
now,
hasn't had a hit yet, has he?
now here's the thing: when the pitcher comes up in the 6th inning in a National League game, and you're trailing by 1 or 2 runs, that pitcher's out of there. You can't keep Justin
7th inning, it's automatic.
You can't keep a Justin Verlander or a Scherzer, although Scherzer never pitches 7. But when you have your pitcher out there and he has had such a good job, but he's trailing 1-0, 2-1, 3-1, whatever it is, he's gone because you got to use a pinch hitter.
The DH number 1 should not be in baseball, in my opinion.
I agree.
And if it is, both leagues use it. That's it. Nothing
Well,
else.
It was one of the worst things that baseball ever did.
Yes, it is.
There's 3 things that they did. One was reducing the size of the mound. Number 2, reducing the size of the strike zone and the DH. That was just an awful thing. We've got so much more for the World Series, and we'll be right back in a minute. As I've already predicted, the Tigers in 5, but
I say the Cardinals in 7, as I said.
well, you're wrong.
No,
Max Scherzer, been one of the mysteries here ever since he came here.
Toilet
Yeah, he
seat.
wins a couple of ball games. He won 16 this year, I guess.
Yeah, heck of a
and
year this
the
year.
thing about it is, it appears every pitch he throws is not exactly where the catcher is sitting. He is what they used to call him when I played was politely wild. For instance, the second pitch he threw yesterday was behind Ichiro.
Yes.
I mean, behind him. I mean, that's tough to do, to throw a pitch behind a hitter. But you know what it does? It puts a little bit of, boy, is he going to do that again? But is he going to hit me? And so it puts a little bit of doubt in your head. And as a hitter, you really don't want to dig in and take your best swing because, God forbid, you guess wrong.
Like Ryan Duran.
Ryan Dern was another one. He had Coke bottles for glasses.
Yeah.
And
Every pitch, first warm-up, go right back to the screen.
he had no idea half of the time where the ball was going to
Scared
go.
the hell out of the hitters, too.
Oh,
Scared
man.
the hell out
And
of
I look for Verlander to continue to pitch the way he did because this is the first year in postseason play he's really pitched well. And if he steps up like he has already, listen, he's going to, especially in the marketplace as it stands today, St. Louis and Detroit, he becomes kind of an icon if he continues this because, boy, he's been sensational to say the least.
I told you I like the Cardinals pitching, but the Tiger pitching right now, it's the best starting staff in baseball in my mind.
Well, they've come together. I mean, that's the thing. I don't think they're the best pitching staff in baseball. Right now they are. The starters are. Right now they are. Now, Jimmy Leland, is welcomed back as a manager if he wants a job next year. Can you imagine
why make
the
a
guy
statement like that?
Yeah, but wait a second. All season long,
Get
people
rid of him.
berated him.
They were wrong.
Screamed at him. I heard guys on talk radio this year
my show.
who probably never had a baseball glove on, for God's sakes, and they're talking about,
Well, his lineup is this, and his lineup is that, and his lineup is this. Why doesn't this guy hit here?
listen, the guy has been around the game for 60 years. Let Leland manage. Honest to God, cross my heart, hope to die. The guy really knows the game of baseball. Leave him alone. Now,
right.
wait a minute, the same people who are trying to crucify him now want to put him on their shoulders.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Jim Leland's done a good job. He has command of the clubhouse. They respect him. They like him. They want to play for him. Who else could you bring in when I said that could do a better job? Name one.
Well, there's a lot of guys out there that can manage, but you know what? Jimmy knows his players. He really knows his. Forget the clubhouse. I mean, that's a bunch of phony baloney.
Well, that's where they're at.
Listen, whether you get along with your guys or not, as long as you win, everybody gets along. But you know, I hear this. Well, they got such a great rapport. Every club who wins a pennant in a World Series has got great rapport. Clubs the things that make clubs different from each other are characters. You know, we don't have a lot of characters on this team. You know, like in the 60s, they had a number of characters. So
Ray Oyler.
70s, early 80s, and the 84 club. How many characters do you want? You just pick them. So that's the ingredient that's missing, I think, from a lot of major league teams. Now, let me talk about Rodriguez.
Aurelio Rodriguez.
Not Aurelio.
He's no longer with us, Denny.
A-Rod.
He's no longer
got
with
a
us.
contract with the Yankees to finish at $114 million. He gets to approve any trade, and he's already told them, I ain't leaving, folks. I'm staying in New York. I've got a home here.
Fans
I
are
love
livid.
New
The
York.
fans are livid.
The fans are screaming at him. There's a guy that owns a horse in New York. The horse's name is called A-Rod. And the horse was a non-performing horse.
Just like A-Rod.
The horse would, exactly, and the horse would come out of the gate in the first 50 furlongs, the horse would go like hell. I mean, it'd be ahead by 50, 60 lengths, it looked like. And then all of a sudden, the last half of the race, the horse absolutely just died. Well, the owner of the horse, there's an old thing in the horse racing business, which is something I know very little about. My father-in-law, Lou Boudreau, was a great horseman.
Oh, was he?
But it told me one time, he said, listen, if you want a horse to run quicker, castrate him. So this guy who owns A-Rod the horse, okay, wants A-Rod to consider being castrated.
What does A-Rod say about that?
Hey, I'm not sure if we've had a response from A-Rod yet, but that may be on the news at 11. But that's exactly what they did with this horse, and they say he's running like hell now. Listen, the horse has got to be scared to death. What else do they want to cut?
Listen, A-Rod is upset because he's not playing. He doesn't understand why he's not playing.
You know the best throw he made during the entire playoff series was the 2 baseballs he threw into the stands to the gals.
To the gals, yeah. That was the best move he had. Listen, A-Rod's had a great career. No question about it.
The best.
Yeah, unbelievable. Even though
Folks,
he's been on steroids and all that.
He's a legitimate superstar, steroids and that.
Yeah, and right now it looks to me like he's done.
Why do you say he's done?
Because he's had a terrible year all year. He didn't do that well the year before, and this year he's in the postseason he just gagged it.
Well, I read the papers in New York this morning, and I want to tell you something. Yankees don't come home.
Yeah, they didn't want him there. They want him to just fly to their homes.
I'm not talking about just Rodriguez. I'm talking about the whole team. Yankees don't come home. Yankees blow it. Yankees get killed. Tigers overwhelmed. And you know, it was brought up just before we started our show this morning that why is it that all the networks talked about were the Yankees and more Yankees? That's a good point.
Well,
it's a very good point.
That's always a better story.
But I will tell you this. Yes, the Yankees will always be a better story, and they've got a lot of backstories. That's the reason why you're always interested in the Yankees. But there's one thing you've got when you're talking about the Yankees. They are the Yankees, and they will always have personalities. They will always have. You know, they lose their captain. Jeter. You lose the best player right now in baseball. The guy
leader.
That
the leader,
keeps, right, the leader. The guy that keeps it together.
All right, you got Teixeira at first base. A Gold Glove winner. I think he's won 4 Gold Gloves. This man is a great first baseman.
Yep.
He blew 2 plays in 1 inning. One he got an error for. Another one he almost got an error for. I was with Stephen A. Smith in the press box. What the blank is going on here? And then the shortstop did a double bounce to first base in the same inning. The defense killed it. And Swisher in right field, Denny. He's awful.
Well, the Yankees have got some real questions to deal with, and I'm not sure. Listen, I still think they'll be at the end of the year next year. They'll still be in the same place. So they got to find out where are their pitchers. That's what they really need. I mean, listen, most of their starters pitch 3, 4, 5 innings relatively well. But all of a sudden, they're bringing in guys that no one's ever heard of.
Pettit back again for age 45 or something?
You mean the guy that the guy that Roger Clemens bribed?
He changed his story. Maybe I didn't see that.
I'd like to know how much money Clemens promised Andy Pettit based upon him changing his entire testimony when he went to that trial in Washington, D.C.
Quick response. Will he be back in baseball? Will he be in the big leagues next year? Roger Clemens, he wants to make a comeback.
No, he's not coming back. I don't even know what this was about, unless he was trying to delay being embarrassed for the induction into the Hall of Fame. Roger is not getting into the Hall of Fame. I don't care what anybody thinks. He may get in it 100 years from now because of his stats. He's certainly got the stats. But you know what? He has been tainted forever. I mean, his wife was involved in the thing. They had DNA from both of them, serious amounts of DNA. I mean, you got trainers testifying against him. It's almost like the guy who rides the bike.
Segment's over.
That's how much DNA that they had. We will be right back with the game of the day, our Detroit Lions. Before we go to the Lions today, Jose Valverde.
What about him?
Well, he kind of lost his direction here the last week.
Yes, he has.
And I hate to see it with any pitcher, especially a guy who's had so much success. But in 2 years, he's only saved 85 out of 90 games. Now, he's lost a little bit of confidence. I don't think there's any question about it. But I've never seen a guy get beat up so bad in my life. I mean, this guy, listen, every time he went out there, he scared the hell out of you.
Yeah, I know.
I don't care how many games he pitches.
So did Rodney when he was here, Fernando.
And Rodney became the comeback player of the year.
Yeah, and he could win Cy Young. He should win it.
He could win the Cy Young Award. You're absolutely right.
He's the best pitcher in baseball this year. He won't win it, but he should.
Well, we'll see. Now, listen, the Lions. Job at best. I was talking to a guy from the Lions yesterday, and he was telling me that this kid has such great character.
That's what they say.
An unbelievable work ethic. He has never quit working out despite the fact that he's been hurt. Obviously, he's not running into anybody, so the concussion things aside. And you know what? He's supposed to be very smart when it comes to the game. And, of course, the great two other things. One, he's big, he runs with the ball, and he can catch passes.
He can catch passes. Well, when he was at Cal, he was a great runner. We all know that. But he has suffered a concussion, and it was a bad one at Cal. Enough to, a lot of the scouts and everything, the teams took him right off their list. Not second, third, fourth round or anything. They just took him right off the list. They wanted no part of him. And the Lions took a chance, and he did well when he played, but his career may be over now.
Took a chance. The guy picked up 1,000 yards.
No, but I'm saying that's what I mean. They took a chance, and it was good for him. But now his career looks like it's going to be over.
The thing that bothers me about it, and maybe it's none of our business, but it bothers me one little item. They refuse to tell anybody what the injury is. There's a lot of, a couple of weeks ago they announced that he was coming back, at least implied it that he was coming back.
Yeah.
And then, of
Doctor
course,
said no.
Right, and then, of course, they get another examination and somebody said, no, it's not in your best interest to come back. But the thing that bothers me is they won't tell us what it is. And the way and listen, it's private medical information. I understand that, and I just want to pass this along because it did bother me for a while. But on the other hand, you know what? He's got to deal with it on his own terms, and he's got to deal with the club on his own terms. Because at one time there for a while, I don't think there's any question that people kind of thought he was a wuss. I really do. Those little rumblings were all over town when people started talking about the Lions. I don't think the guy's a wuss. I think he wants to play as bad as we want to see him play.
Well, here's Schwartz, the coach of the Lions. I understand fines anybody that will talk about Lion injuries. They don't want that out. They don't want that out at all. And this Schwartz won't even talk about his contract. Nobody knows how many year contract he signed. He refuses to say how many years he got. Is that right?
Well, listen, it's his money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his money and it's the Lions.
Use it when he needs it.
But we in today's society, we probably know just about everything about everybody.
Yeah.
And for us not to know things like that.
How many years?
Number one, it's not very important to me. I don't think it is to you either. But, it's just, it's a nice little, a backstory. And, listen, I think the beat writers know. I think they know everything. I mean, they get close to these coaches.
Sure they do.
And they know what they're doing when they get close to these coaches. I think the beat writers, who are very experienced and bright people, I think they work their way in like a little worm, which is not a bad thing, by the way, so I'm not disparaging you. But you guys do a great job. You wind up with some great information. And I think half of the information you have, you don't print anyway, because it may be considered too private. They would never get another interview.
Let's talk about the Lions, Philadelphia, Sunday. The Lions.
Well, I want to talk about Chris.
The Lions.
I got a local story here. Chris Greenwood.
Yes.
A Detroit kid.
Yes.
Went to a Detroit high school. He went to Albion College at Division III. And he's now on the Lions roster.
Yes.
With the ball club. And he's got a chance of playing. Now, here's a kid who never thought he'd see the NFL after they shoot him and they put him on the pup team, right?
Yeah.
Which is the guys that are below the main roster.
Yeah, not the dogs, the
and
puppies.
They're sitting there waiting to be called into the NFL. This is going to be a great story. I only hope that when he gets his chance, he does really well, because it's nice to see a Michigan kid, especially a Detroit kid, step up and really play like hell.
The Lions are in Chicago. I picked the Lions. Of course, I did that in Philadelphia last week too. The Lions to lose by 14 to 20 points. The only way the Lions win, they're going to lose in Chicago by 14 to 20 points. The only way the Lions can win, the only way they can beat Chicago, they got to get in the head of Cutler. Cutler is he's just a wild guy, and he doesn't get along with his coaches. And they got inside him before and they beat the Bears. The only way you're going to get him is get him inside, get him off his game, get him out of his comfort zone. If he has his comfort zone, the Lions are done.
Listen, I'm not a very good handicapper, and I want to preface all you guys who bet on football games, listen, just listen to me, but don't bet because of what I'm about to say. I believe I'm born and raised in Chicago. I mean, you know, what are you going to say, Denny? I'm a monster Cub fan.
All right, what are you going to say here?
And a monster Chicago Bear fan. And I want to tell you, and obviously, you know, I mean, I love to see the Lions win, but not on this Sunday. I believe the Bears will blow them out.
That's what I just said.
I know what you said. I heard what you said.
I didn't know if you heard.
But here's the thing. I'm talking about a blowout. I'm not talking 14 points. Because defensively, our front line just don't get it done, as they say.
No, they're overrated.
And Jake the Snake, if he does his thing, and he does his thing as well, and, you know, he's got some really talented receivers now.
They got Marshall and Jeffries.
I think Marshall's every bit as good as Johnson.
Not quite.
I really do.
Yeah, he's right there.
I mean, if I had my druthers, I'd probably take Johnson. I mean, if I got to go 1-2, I'm taking Johnson. I think he's a monster.
But
he's
Marshall, I said at the start of the year, this guy's going to win the division for the Bears, getting Marshall over there.
The thing, it's more than Marshall. It's more than Jake. It's the team. And despite the fact that Jake the Snake can get that whole clubhouse all peeved.
Yeah, I know,
and
at him.
People throwing things behind his back.
At him.
People throwing things at him in the clubhouse. People screaming at him, calling him not so nice names, by the way, too. I mean, they went crazy the first week or two of the season because Jake, as a man he is, and he's got $60 million in the bank, said, "Are you guys going to protect me or what?" And you know what?
They just let him go, and he got killed.
He got killed. But it wasn't because they were allowing him to be killed. That's not true. But what happened is the Bears' the offensive line had a bad week, and he got punished. See, that's the problem playing quarterback. That is the problem. If you guys in front don't play very well for you, boy, it's going to be a long.
You talk about running backs for your job at best, but you got a guy in Chicago. They don't make the
Oh,
playoffs.
I love him.
They do not make the playoffs if Cutler and the running back Forte get hurt. Now they're back,
I agree with
and
that.
they got Marshall, and they got Jeffries they didn't have. They're a better team. The Lions have no chance of beating the Bears or the Packers.
Both teams have the same problem. If Stafford goes down or Johnson goes down, they're done.
Yes.
If Jake goes down, they're done.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams. I mean, their offenses are centered around
a
quarterback. Although, in all honesty, what team is not centered around a quarterback? Look at Philadelphia. What a joke. I mean,
He's the most overrated quarterback
Michael Vick got a contract for $100 million and got 55 of it up front.
Isn't that pitiful? That's pitiful.
Why is it pitiful?
Because, number one, he hasn't proven he can play in this league at a high standard. That's why.
Oh, man, you're smoking.
He's not.
No,
he hasn't done that well in this league at all.
Ladies and gentlemen,
he's not done well in this league.
He's smoking that stuff again.
I don't know what stuff it is. Introduce it to me. I'd like to have it.
Oh, I don't need to introduce anything to you.
Do. Listen,
we'll be back.
Whoa, he's a terrible
listen, by the
quarterback.
way, let me take 30 seconds real quick. We're looking for a live audience. If you want to be a part of our live audience, we want on Fridays at about 3 o'clock every Friday afternoon. Give the station here a call at WADL. That's WADL. Give them a call, and we're going to have a live audience starting next week.
Questions to us and
You're going to
everything.
be able to ask questions in the last segment of the show every week. So we look forward to your calls. We look forward to you guys coming down to the studio.
Starting next Friday,
and,
hopefully.
And of course, very soon here in the next week or so, we're going to have live guests. So we look forward to it. Come on down and see us. Plus, free pizza.
That's for Denny, not for you.
No.
It's for Denny.
We'll see you next week.